Good morning, everyone. We're here in a mystery location brought here by the nice people at Fuji, and we're going to take a look at the brand new Fuji X-T3. They have a lot of exciting things planned for us today, but let's go out and test this camera and really see who this camera is made for. We'll see you soon. Before we got to play with the camera, we were sat down for a press briefing by Billy himself of the Fuji Guys. And this was about a half an hour to an hour where we got to ask our questions and walk through all the upgrades of the Fuji X-T3. And yes, there's a lot of upgrades made to this camera. For you keen viewers, yes, that is Take, a big head taco on the left there. Check out his YouTube channel if you haven't already. But again, this was all about making sure that we were aware of what this camera was capable of doing before we go out and push it to its limit. So let's take a look at the specs real quick. Though it has a familiar design, there's a lot of upgrades. You have a 4th generation X-Trans 26.1 crop sensor, as well as a 4th generation processor in this thing, totally new. The ISO range now goes down to 160. You still have a native high of 12,800 that you can push to over 51,000 if you want. On the back, 3-inch touch screen that you could use for autofocus among many other features. But here's the thing, a brand new autofocus system that allows you to shoot 30 frames per second in burst mode. I'll get back to that later. You can shoot 4K at 60 frames per second in 10-bit internal as well. Not to mention a premium build that we've come to expect from Fuji that's also weather resistant. This camera packs even more features that I haven't mentioned just yet, so to put it lightly, it's kind of a beast. So we're here at Billy Bishop Airport. We have the X-T3, so I have a 8-16 on right now. Scott, you have the kit lens, right? The 18-55. He doesn't like to be on camera, so I'm gonna spare him that. He's gonna grab some B-roll for us, and we're gonna see what this day transpires into. But so far, looking at some of the specs on this camera, it's pretty amazing that they can fit all of that into a body so small. But we're actually gonna push it to the limit and see what it's capable of doing. So let's go take a look. One of the cool things about this camera is that new X-Trans 4 processor. And I'll tell you right now, even the short time we've been using it, there's been considerable improvements over the X-T2. I've used the X-T2 for quite a bit of time. I can tell you right now, when it comes to the eye detection, the face detection, it's just noticeably smoother, a little bit better right now.
Got the sliding doors outside. Do you see sliding doors? Oh, sliding doors. Okay. Turn left when you get to the sliding doors.
So we're on the tarmac, I think that's the technical term, on our way to a helicopter to take pictures. This is a good time to mention that except for that intro at the beginning, everything was shot on the Fuji X-T3 with the Film simulation. Here's a quick picture with the Acros, and we'll talk about the image quality on this thing real soon. But again, unless I mention it, everything is straight out of camera. We exposed as best as we can using the Film simulation and put that video into this timeline for you so you could see what this thing is capable of. So we're officially inside a helicopter right now, trying to maintain maturity, at least until the helicopter takes off. Because they can't kick us out once we're in the air. I mean, at least not in this country. So yeah, we'll wait till we're actually up there. Naturally, we were brought to a racetrack to test out how fast this camera was, because again, we're dealing with a 0.3 second startup time, 0.045 shutter lag when you release it, a 0.06 autofocus speed, and again, maximum continuous shooting at 30 frames per second. It is a 1.25 crop, but again, that's pretty astounding, and that's without any blackout on the viewfinder. What were we shooting with? Well, there was a family of lenses waiting for us at the destination, namely the brand new 200mm f2 with the 1.4 teleconverter. That's a lot of zoom, folks, a lot. Here's that 30 frames per second in action, and of course that autofocus system, that brand new system, held up really, really well. To be honest, I didn't know what to expect, but I was really impressed on how the autofocus worked. They said they mitigated the rolling shutter, but you can see there's a little bit present in some images, but not all of them. All in all, the racetrack proved that the Fuji X-T3 can hold up even in the most time-sensitive environments, just super, super fast. That was out of the way, so it was time to get back to the chopper and into the city because we had a special shoot waiting for us when we arrived. Right now, we're in a Bell 430. It's not the most well-lit environment, but a great opportunity to say that the autofocus on the X-T3 is considerably improved in low-light environments compared to the X-T2. What do you mean I don't have to yell? After some quick refreshments, we were on the rooftop of a hotel where we had some lovely models waiting for us to test out the photography of this thing. And again, I came in with my film simulation recipes. All these images you're gonna see are straight out of the camera, JPEGs. I threw them on the iPad to remove a couple of blemishes, but that's it. What you could do with this camera is truly up to your creativity. If you take the time to use the film simulations and customize them to your workflow, you can capture some images that look fantastic right out of the camera before you even start editing them. And it's a crop sensor. People like to talk about sharpness. Let me tell you something. These things were really, really sharp. As the sun was setting, it was a great time to test out that Fuji color science that I personally have grown to love. And let me remind you, this is straight out of camera with the Eterna film simulation. Look at those colors. No grading done here, no color correcting done here. This is straight out of the camera. For those of you that are a little bit more seasoned and professional with your workflow, what's cool about this camera, you can also shoot in F-Log, 10-bit, 420 internal or 422 external at 4K. So you can punch in for shots like this and get tight and grade your footage the way you want to do it. If the Eterna film simulation isn't doing it for you, well, you can do it however you want to do it. Suffice to say, there's a lot of video capabilities in this camera. Though the official support for the RAW files are not available yet, I still got to push this thing to its limits. Whether it was a racetrack, a model shoot, or a wedding that I happened to be shooting that weekend, I had a lot of time to test this device and really see what it was capable of doing. And to put it simply, it solves a lot of problems that creatives face. This is going to be a really special mirrorless camera for the future. You can see with the new X-Trans processor and sensor that Fuji has set up something that's going to stand the test of time. And if we know anything about Fuji, you know that there's going to be a ton of software support post-launch.